Okay, I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, clap.
Okay.
And when I say clap, we're both going to clap, okay?
You got it.
1, 2, 3, clap.
Oh, wait. On clap?
We're going to do it again.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, clap.
I think I might have been a little earlier than you, but yeah.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
2 idiots make a podcast.
Do you want to try it again? Do you want to do one more?
Should I not say clap? Should it just be 1, 2, 3, clap?
Yeah, but you're not saying clap. We're gonna do 1, 2, 3, and then we will actually clap.
Yeah.
On the beat after 3.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Welcome to No Sad Face, a toxically positive Kingdom Hearts fandom podcast with your hosts, me, PJ from Cabletown. I'm also joined by my co-host, friend, and ex-husband, RegularPat. Hi, Pat.
Hello, PJ. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm expecting alimony.
Okay, well, I'm expecting a child, so what do you want to do with that?
I'll figure it out later, I guess.
As far as introductions go, like I said, I'm PJ. I've been in the Kingdom Hearts community from the very beginning, under a plethora of usernames and working under multiple sites. I've seen it all. I've done it all. These days, I mostly just float around and make weird conceptual fan art. I am known by my recent moniker Cabletown or Cabletown Art. Pat, go ahead.
My name's Pat, RegularPat on YouTube. I've not been as entrenched in the community for as long as PJ has. I mean, I played the games when they first came out back in 2002. Been a fan ever since then, but I only started my YouTube channel in 2019. Went full-time with that in 2021. It's just my life's work, my life's passion at this point. I do that full-time. I stream on Twitch, focus on a lot of long-form, deep dive stuff on the series. My favorite game, notoriously, being KH1. And I'm excited to talk about this stuff with one of the brightest minds in the community, if I do say so.
Oh, when are they getting here?
I think, didn't we have a guest booked for today, or no? Was it just us?
No, it's just us today.
Damn, all right. Well, I guess we'll make do.
Well, it's interesting in terms of what this is and how it came to be. I have some stats here.
Okay.
Did you know that all men have this genetic predisposition that makes them 75% likely to make a podcast?
See, I was going to bring this up. I'm glad you did, because I wasn't sure if I should. Yeah. I've been around for a bit now on Twitch and, in like other, Discord spaces, and people have always said, like, Pat, you should, start some kind of Kingdom Hearts related podcast. And I was like, there's a lot of podcasts already. Like, do we really need another straight guy talking about, video games into a podcast microphone?
Well, but here's the thing, that compulsion to make a podcast, it goes up to 80% when you're white.
Right. Right.
And it goes up to 90% if you're white and straight.
Yeah.
So for me, this is more about like symptom relief.
Yeah.
And helping my friend.
Yeah.
Than it is about anything else.
Right.
But I'm a talker. I'm a big talker.
Yeah, yappers, as the kids might say.
I was kind of inspired to do this after we did the fashion bracket.
Oh, okay. For those unaware, on my Twitch channel, we ran a Kingdom Hearts fashion bracket where I believe it was one of my longtime viewers, Gatvaka. She submitted, I don't know if it was 32 or 64 different, character outfits across the series. I'm not the most aesthetically inclined, we'll say. I don't have that much of a fashion sense. So I was like, well, I think the guest for this has basically got to be PJ. It's really not doable without him.
Yeah.
And so, you kind of took the reins on that as I, sort of yes-anded anything that was going on there. But do you remember who won that?
Yeah, Aqua.
Aqua, yeah, she's got a good design. Good
she does.
Fashion.
I think that's the only reason why Aba allowed me to live. By not letting her do that bracket.
Oh, gotcha.
But because Aqua won,
yeah.
I think it's okay. It would have been better if Kyrie had won.
Yeah.
But my argument is that Kyrie should have had better outfits. So
I agree.
We take what we can get with that. But yeah, like I think that went over really well. I had a lot of fun with that. I've wanted to do a Kingdom Hearts podcast for a while, and I have done some.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go in a different direction with this one because I think it's fair to say, and I know this about myself, and my therapist knows this about myself, I am a hater.
Yeah,
I'm a big hater. I hate things, Pat.
I can
I hate you.
corroborate. Yeah, yeah.
I hate Kingdom Hearts. I hate myself.
I've been the subject of such vitriol over the years, so I understand.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I really hate Kingdom Hearts, and it's my favorite series.
Yeah, the things that you love the most, you're the hardest on. So
Yeah.
it's literally a love-hate relationship.
I had noticed for a long time that negative discourse in Kingdom Hearts is, particularly rampant. And that's not really a surprise because of the way social media, the algorithms literally are boosted for negative engagement. So
Sure,
the more
yeah.
that you hate on something, the more eyes it gets. And I don't think it makes me a better person that I'm cognizant of that, but I do, for my own peace of mind, kind of want to fall in love with the series again. So the idea of making a podcast where we have a dedicated time where we can only really talk about the reasons why we fell in love with it in the first place, feels like a nice kind of therapy. And you're not as much of a hater as I am, but you have a touch of it.
I have the potential, I think. I think I can definitely, I channel it where it can do some good at times, but, there's the two wolves inside all of us.
Sure.
I was going to say the two Gulas, but he's the fox guy. Damn it. They don't have a wolf one. That when we get to the back cover episode, I'm going to be bitching about the animal choices.
Sure. That's fine.
We'll be talking about how great everything is because that's what this project is about, is the good stuff.
Right. Right, but I will say that there are reasons why those animals were chosen. So
right, which of course I am cognizant of because I'm a huge, supporter and fan of the Key era stuff, and I know.
I thought you were going to say Dante's Inferno because that's why. But whatever. I know you don't read. So.
No, yeah. Again, Kingdom Hearts fans, right up there with negative discourse is also illiteracy. Two things running rampant in the community.
That's so true, bestie. But that's why we're doing a podcast, so they don't have
right,
to
right. They just have to hear.
But we're not getting on camera for it, so I don't know how popular it's going to be.
That's a good point.
But I don't know. Some of them, Mel has a really great podcast with Hannah, and they don't get on camera.
I have to plug the Spaghetti Bros at the Answer Report podcast as well. They, it's purely audio, no visuals.
That's true. So essentially, what this podcast is meant to be is kind of a bomb to that, BALM.
Yes.
And the way in which we're going to combat that is that we each have a dedicated amount of time to talk about an aspect of the series that we love. So each of us will have 10-minute segments to talk about a particular thing. The theme of this first episode is going to be the game that started it all, the first Kingdom Hearts. Came out in 2002 for the PlayStation 2, directed by Tetsuya Nomura. Square Enix, before it was Square Enix, it was Squaresoft and Disney Interactive joint venture. We'll each talk about one thing that we really love about the series. It's okay if we don't agree. In fact, it could be great. I think it could be great if we don't necessarily agree, because then we have to combat our inner nature to be terrible.
Right. Okay.
And that could only be funny.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, or if we have contrasting points, or what if the thing that I talk about loving is the thing that you hate in your minute segment?
It's totally possible. Totally possible.
Or, we could talk about the same thing, in which case we just double dip and have a 20-minute
love fest
for one thing. Yeah. And that's fine, and maybe we should have thought of that before.
Maybe we should have compared notes.
I like that it's a surprise.
Yeah, what are the odds? If it
doesn't work with this one, we'll change it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they're pretty good.
It's possible. If you go first and you have the thing that I want to talk about, I'll be really upset.
I am going first because you requested that I do.
Yeah.
10 minutes. I will press start as soon as I say what it is.
Okay.
And my topic is the choices of Disney worlds in the first game.
All right.
I love this topic. One of the main reasons why I'm in love with the first Kingdom Hearts game is that I think it does a really great job in terms of the way that it chose its worlds and the way that it brought them to the forefront and developed them and incorporated them into the narrative, the hero's journey, Sora's story in and of itself, Riku's story. I really love the mixing and the matching in terms of eras, in terms of art styles, in terms of, what you're looking at. Because when you look at video games, particularly ones that have mechanics where you go to various different worlds, there's always a water level, there's always a desert level, there's always a scary level, there's always something that is probably in the sky or whatever.
Jungle,
and,
forest.
Yeah. And the rules are always like, no matter what game it is, everybody has to hate the water level
Yeah.
because it,
Yeah.
it changes the controls dramatically.
Right.
And Kingdom Hearts like understood the assignment in a time where 3D action platformers were being invented. You know, like this game was a response to Super Mario 64.
Right.
And honestly, in terms of development and where it is on that timeline, like it's only a couple of years later.
Yeah, what was 64? 1996?
I have no idea.
Feels right.
I was, neither of us were really around back then. I'm a newborn baby, and
Yeah.
but yeah, whenever the Nintendo 64 dropped, that's
Yeah.
that was that. And Nomura had mentioned that game in particular and interacting in 3D space was what he was interested in replicating. And you don't really see that in Square games before the Kingdom Hearts era. Like that was really their first foray into it. Like there are other Final Fantasy games that are, quote unquote 3D, but we're talking about like little polygons on pre-rendered surfaces that, have the illusion of depth, much like you in your videos.
Oh my
so like
God.
there's like fully interacting with a camera in Kingdom Hearts. But aside from that, I really love the idea that like you are just going on that hero's journey. Like in a lot of ways, it's kind of like going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
You know?
You got your Frontier, your Main Street USA, all these different sectors.
And in terms of the choices, like, you have stuff from the Golden Age, you have stuff that, relatively modern, especially, we look back and you think of Tarzan as, being 1999, so it's older.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was only a couple of years old.
New kid on the block.
And yeah, and it was exciting. And Nightmare Before Christmas wasn't really as like ubiquitous in counterculture as it is now. Hot Topic wasn't really a thing yet.
Right, yeah.
So you just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
Like I actually have a conspiracy theory that Kingdom Hearts is partially responsible for the renaissance of Nightmare Before Christmas and Tron.
I think it makes plenty sense, to be honest. I mean, I didn't grow up with like an intimate familiarity with Nightmare Before Christmas in the way that I feel like, like you said, the counterculture kids of today or maybe 10 years ago did. It's not like, it's not a traditional animated canon movie. Like it doesn't stand alongside your Aladdins or your, Alice in Wonderlands. So I wasn't entirely cognizant of like, the world selection process when I was 5-6 years old when KH2 came out. But it definitely is an oddball pick. It doesn't seem as odd with, through a modern lens. But back then, it wasn't like, as you said, so mainstream.
I think that I grew up with it as as much as I could, considering I was very little when it came out. But, I had a fondness for it, but I was not cognizant of it being like a Disney property until Kingdom Hearts came out.
Yeah, I think I was the same way, where I was aware of the movie's existence, but like, mentally I did not associate it with, Mickey Mouse.
Right. And Disney released it under their Touchstone Pictures label so that they wouldn't mark up their own branding as Disney, because they weren't sure of, the darkness of it, how it would be taken, whether or not people would really lash out against it. So in those days, like, no, I didn't associate Nightmare Before Christmas with Disney at all. But these days, like, I know that if I go to the Disney parks, there's going to be a lot of merch.
Yeah.
If I go to Disneyland in October, Haunted Mansion is going to be taken over by Oogie Boogie and Jack and
Oogie
Sally.
Boogie Bash.
Yeah, like you expect those presences now.
Yeah.
There. And that wasn't the case back then. But also, stepping aside from that choice, I like the narrative beats of, Sora leaves Traverse Town and, you start on this Disney journey, and the first choices you have being Wonderland and Olympus. They both do very different things that are wholly appropriate for the early parts of the story, wherein in Wonderland, you kind of have this, isekai sort of situation where the narrative of the original is a little girl kind of falling into a new world where everything is not what she expected. And that's what Sora dreamt of. He wanted that kind of adventuring to see what was out there. And the first thing that you give him is this really weird world where even physics don't have the same laws as they do anywhere else. And I think that's a really noble choice. And I think that the way that they translated the art style of Wonderland into that world, I'm a huge fan of Mary Blair. She's my favorite Disney artist, and she was responsible for a lot of the design of Wonderland. Her use of shape, her use of color is really well known. And you might not know her name, but if I point out to you what she's responsible for, you see the through line. Like, she worked on Peter Pan, she worked on Cinderella, yeah. She worked on It's a Small World. Okay. You know, the geometric color and space was kind of her calling card. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Mary Blair. That's why this year's March Caprice theme is Mary Blair inspired by that wonky hand-drawn feeling. And even though Kingdom Hearts 1's Wonderland is not as fully, like, realized as a world, like, it's not as immersive as something you would find in 3, right. It's very oddly geometrically patterned. I like the way that it's presented as kind of like a series of boxes that you kind of have to open. Yeah. You know? It's kind of like a dark ride at Disneyland where, like, you see the flatness, you see the cardboard, for lack of a better word. I know it's not cardboard.
Well, you can, like, see the seams of the room coming together. Like, you can just look at like, oh, like this courtroom is like hedges, but they have like very distinct like corners and edges to it. Like, you're in a shoebox.
Diorama. And it's crafted. Like, it's intentional. You know, it might be weird, but it is intentional.
Yeah, for sure.
And Olympus is a training ground. Yeah. You know, like, when you're a hero starting off on your journey and you have to find all these monsters, that's a perfect way to start learning not only game mechanics, but also, like, how to fight different types of enemies in and of itself. And kind of tying that back into the Greek epic myths, you know, that you would see in, like, the Odyssey and the hero's journey. Sora follows a very similar place, even coming from an island and working his way out. And again, you know, the old and the new, like, you go to the Silver Age of Disney, and then you go to the Renaissance, and you stay in the Renaissance for a while, and then you know, totally out of left field with one of Disney's earliest movies, Pinocchio, which was the second animated feature. Winnie the Pooh, like, it all serves a very clear purpose,
but
it also but it also checks, like, your nostalgia boxes.
I would love to kind of, like, look at the choices in 2 and 3 through that same lens and try to track if there is intentionality in the same way that there is in KH1, because I feel like there's not as concrete of a journey or of a story they're trying to tell through the world specifically. Like, things happen in the worlds, but I don't know if it's necessarily as, like, analogous to what's happening with Sora. You know what I mean?
It also doesn't feel as balanced. Right. Like, you might have some really great world choices in 2, for example, but it is very, like, Renaissance era heavy. Yeah. Like, we're talking 90s is the main through line of Kingdom Hearts 2, which I would argue is part of the reason why it's so popular. And then, you know, maybe, like, something like Steamboat Willie, which is earlier than anything, gets thrown in. And that feels like it's trying to put the ship back into a state of balance, but it's still not quite what it is in the first game, and that doesn't necessarily make it better or worse, but it does make it different.
Yeah, I think Tron being there as well, like you said earlier, is an attempt to sort of add that balance there. Very off-the-wall pick that, you know, if you were to have a bingo card in the run-up to KH2's release without any materials having been released, like, who's putting Tron on the board unless Nomura was, like, you know, openly talking about his appreciation for that. Yeah.
Well, that love of the unexpected, you know, like, you never know who you'll run into next was the tagline of the first game.
Love that.
And it felt real there. And those are my 10 minutes.
That's time. I feel like we didn't even get into the meat. We didn't even make it past that first circuit. I know. We got to stop ourselves because, you know, it'll get out of hand.
But I'm really curious as to what you picked and how we can dive into that. So I'm going to let you introduce what it is, and then I'll start the timer.
Okay. Well, I think it's a big thing. It's kind of amorphous, but for me, it's just the atmosphere of that first game. I think a lot of people will look at a KH2 or Days or even Chain of Memories, the very next release after 1, and say, like, wow, what a dark game. Like, things are getting, maybe not dark, they may not use that word, but they'll say, like, edgy or, you know, more mature. Everyone likes to, you know, compare 1 with games after it and saying, like, oh, you know, this first game was just like this, you know, carefree romp through Disney worlds, and it was just, you know, very simple hero's journey stuff. But then once we get to Chain of Memories, we have, like, you know, this mental manipulation, the organization gets introduced. With Roxas and 2, you have, you know, a lot of angst, a lot of emotional turmoil, which I don't think all of that was necessarily even, you know, absent from KH1. But I always think it's funny that, even as a kid, when I played these games, I played them as they released in 2002 and then 4 and 6. I never felt like those games were necessarily more oppressive in their atmosphere in the way that 1 is. It scared me shitless as a kid, that first game. And not just through like the raw moments of terror, like Ansem in the secret place, or, being put up against these shadows on Destiny Islands and your wooden sword is not doing anything to them, which is like just this terrifying moment for a child. But it's just like the atmosphere, for lack of a better word, this foreboding energy that hangs over the entire game, much like that, gigantic apocalypse ball in the sky during the storm on Destiny Islands. Everything feels so dire in Kingdom Hearts 1 in a way that it doesn't in any other game. Even KH3, which I'm, a longtime defender and appreciator of, but it never feels like, even though we're building up to a literal war, and we know that that's the culmination point, the end of this game, I don't know, I never felt that sense of urgency. When you see Donald and Goofy walking into Traverse Town for the first time, and they look up and they see a star go out, which you as the player, I mean, as a kid I wasn't entirely sure, but that's, it represents Destiny Islands, poofing into oblivion. And so there's this race against end times, basically, throughout the game, which I know is crazy to say about a game that looks like Kingdom Hearts, but I think another part of the atmosphere is that dichotomy, that comparison of, this nostalgic and familiar with like this new scary stuff, which I think in part is represented by, someone like an Ansem who shows up in the secret place and tells you that you don't know shit. And, that sort of kicks off a chain of events that's going to, really lead to, these cataclysmic events like that happens on Destiny Islands with the apocalypse. And then even everything in terms of the collectibles in the game are like these displaced Dalmatian puppies. I love how Kingdom Hearts 1 ties everything back to this crisis that's ongoing. The summons, another thing, at least the ones that you don't get in person from the characters in the worlds, the ones that are brought out of the gems. Fairy Godmother describes them as like, they were there at the time of their world's collapse, and their strength, their will was so strong that they coalesced into these stones, and they've been, I guess, floating through the cosmos and landed wherever they did. Even that is like, it ties back in to that feeling of dread that persists throughout the whole game. I love it so much. Sorry, I just talked for like a million years.
No, it's good. I mean, I'm glad that you said dread, because that was what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
And it's hard to track exactly how they pull that off, because when you really strip down all of the games, they all have that same threat, the through line of like, we are inching towards like a mass extinction event in one way or the other. But with the first game, it's more evident in just that the fact that like the worlds are being destroyed bit by bit, but you have to ask like, how are they pulling that off? Because, it's not a particularly sophisticated presentation in terms of, the way that the characters are presented and the way that they emote. And the story in and of itself is simple. The worlds are being destroyed. You're the only one that can save it. So, like, what is responsible for that feeling? Is it the fact that it was the first one and it was new and we didn't know what we were getting into?
Right.
We had no exposure to press. Is it that the first game is just more intimate than the others? It has a closer camera. It has a character who is literally learning how to do everything. You don't have all the flashy moves. You don't have a mastery of your weapon or of the battle system as a player. You're seeing these worlds brought to life for the first time. Your nostalgia is being given life in front of you.
Yeah.
And then, the question becomes like, am I fighting for the worlds of this game, or am I fighting for my own inner child?
Right.
And that is something that, like, when you're a kid, you're not really cognizant to all of those, like, narrative manipulations that are getting you to feel those things. So, like, you get really sad when Pooh is like, oh, my friends have gone away. And when you're older, you're like, Square Enix is trying to get me to care about a side quest.
Right. Right. That's all that is. Yeah.
Yeah, like saving the puppies, like these are polygons and chests.
Yeah.
But you look at Perdita, who can't get up off the floor, and you're like, I have to save
these dogs. Yeah.
And the other games don't do that.
Yeah, and it's when you brought up like, oh, it's the first time, like there is this novelty to it, and I have thought about like why does the game pull this feeling off to this degree, and like it would just be such a shame if the answer was it's because it's the first time, but it might be. I would just be disappointed if that's it. I don't know. I think part of it's also like the very first place that you are presented with after Destiny Islands is Traverse Town, and it's literally a refugee world. Like that's how it presents itself. People talk to you about being ripped away from their homes, and so I just think that there's this sense of danger that you're faced with sooner and more intimately than any of the other games do. But like you said, to everything you said, it's all potentially because it's the first time, and you don't really know what's around the corner. You don't know what to expect. This hasn't ever been done before in terms of like bringing these Disney worlds to life. So it could go either way.
Yeah, I think the theme that you talked about just now is also a key factor, the feeling of displacement.
Yeah.
I think in the first game, you don't have a home to go back to.
That's true.
And that's not really the case for any of the other games. Like, Sora doesn't go back to Disney Islands by choice, until he gets his business settled throughout most of the game. And I would argue that the only time where I felt that sense of wonder and danger and not knowing what was going to happen and not knowing if things were going to be okay and feeling like a child again in the series, oddly enough, was in Kingdom Hearts 3 when we get to the final world.
Yes.
Something about that.
Yeah. God, PJ, that's perfect.
Reawoken that.
Yeah, that's so perfect because I remember playing it in 2019 and thinking, I probably texted my friend about it as it was happening. I was like, this is the first time since the first game, like arriving at Hollow Bastion or End of the World, where I felt like Kingdom Hearts was getting like kind of spooky in that same way. I think maybe it is as simple as that, is that in 1, you see your home ripped away from you, and the only home base you have is one of necessity and not necessarily one of choice. Whereas in 2 and 3, it is, Radiant Garden for 2, and I guess Twilight Town in 3. But they just feel like, you're there of your own volition. So I think it might be as simple as like watching, the world that you've grown to love over the past however many hours as a kid, because it takes longer to play through the tutorial when you're young, and then watching it get ripped away, and being forced to sort of float around the cosmos until you can set things right.
Yeah, because then you carry not just your own feelings about losing your home, but like you automatically have empathy for every displaced person you encounter. And in 2, you had already lost your heart and reclaimed your sense of self.
Yeah.
So the major themes of that for Sora aren't hitting as hard because he's back to the basics and he just wants to be reunited with his friends,
right.
Which is fine and it makes narrative sense. But as a player grieving the loss of Roxas, you don't carry that grief nearly as much as you do for when you're grieving your home in the first game.
And for the record,
at least I think.
I'm saying all this. I don't think 2 or 3 are bad, obviously.
No.
I don't think they have lacking atmosphere. I think I just prefer how 1 feels, especially the first time through. But even on a replay through, there's just some magic in the air with the first game.
I agree. I think that what you were talking about, they kind of do go hand in hand because there is a presentation of narrative balance throughout both aspects that I think really is one of the main reasons why the first game, for the people that it's the favorite for, like there's no shaking it because those things are they're just not replicated.
You can't. It's almost impossible. Like people ask me, like, what do you want to see? Like, what would be your perfect Kingdom Hearts game? Like, all I can say is that it already came out, 22, however many years ago at this point, and like you just can't replicate it because to an extent of it being the first time, but like the way the places that the characters are in now, like it just wouldn't make narrative sense for them to be experiencing something that they did that was so magical all those years ago. Oh, there we go.
Oh, that's 10 minutes. But, I'll button that thought up with another thought as well. As of this recording, Kingdom Hearts 4 has been missing in action since it was revealed at the anniversary show. But I will say, the main plot of that game as we know it is the fact that Sora is in another universe, realm, world, disconnected from everything he knows and everyone he loves.
Kind of a reset.
And I think... Nomura has talked about this new saga being a reset.
Right.
So I have hope that even though the game is going to be wildly different from anything that we've played before in a lot of ways, I imagine, it will be back to the basics in terms of those feelings.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that was nice. That was a
nice.
nice little chat about a game that we both knew that we loved.
Yeah.
It'll be really fun to talk about games that we don't like as much in the series.
Yeah. Is one your favorite? I don't know if I've ever really asked you like what your favorite is.
You know, it's not.
Yeah.
I would say that 1 is probably my second favorite. My first favorite right now is 3, which is a very contentious response.
It's my second.
I just think that well, good. We can buddy up on that then, because I just think that 3, it fixed a lot of the problems that I had with the series since 1 in a lot of ways. Like it doesn't get us back to those feelings of balance or the narrative charm that you were talking about, but for me, it was like a nice return to form for a lot of things. Like my biggest thing is level design and the development of the Disney world.
Oh boy. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that the level design in 3 is fantastic.
Yeah, me too. I think like I prefer something in the way that 1 does it in terms of level design, but I see that as, again, a thing of necessity and not of choice. Like I think that's just because it's a game of, from that era. They're never going to make a game like that in terms of level design again, when you just have so many resources and money available to you. But I think, in terms of playing a modern Kingdom Hearts game, I think 3 did world design, as well as I could have hoped it to.
Yeah, definitely. And my third favorite, my top 3, it's probably 3, 1, and Birth by Sleep.
Yeah. BBS probably 4th for me. I do, I give 2 a lot of crap, but I do have it 3rd. But I do think, like, in terms of first time playthrough, I do think BBS is more exciting. And that's probably a crazy take, but I was more entrenched and engrossed in the story of that game over 2. I think just because of how much downtime there is in KH2, which I guess, knock on wood, if this podcast thing goes well, we'll get to that. But yeah, I don't know. I could definitely respect BBS being number 3.
Yeah, it is my intention with this podcast, at the very least, I want to do at least a mini series of us going through every game.
Yeah.
I think that's doable in 12, 13 episodes. And if that doesn't, these are easy to record in the format that we have. If people like it, cool. And if not, well, then it has a, definitive endpoint, and that's where it can go.
And then when we do the Recoded episode, can it be maybe 3 minutes on what I like about it? Because that's going to be a situation where I'm changing the font size and 2.5 spacing and the margins are going to be all I need some measures taken for that one. I
think we could probably get away with it's our show.
Yeah.
If you really want 3 minutes, okay. But you have to sacrifice 3 minutes of talking about something that you like.
I do like.
About a game that you like.
Right.
So that it's fair.
Yeah, we should have a minute bank that we can either withdraw or deposit to,
Oh, that's a great idea. Okay, we're gonna write that down for next. We planned it all along.
Yeah.
Exactly
every eventuality planned for.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of minutes, we've come to the part of the show where we each get a minute to talk about a thing that we don't like. And since you gave me the honor of going first for the things that I like, I'm going to give you the honor of talking about the things that you don't like.
Gotcha.
So, if you're ready...
Yeah, I'm shot out of a cannon on this, PJ. I'm ready.
I will press start and you will have a minute.
You got it. Genie and Jafar. You take one of the most iconic characters in the Disney villain lineup, one of the biggest movies in the Renaissance era, is boss fight in KH1, they turn him into a drunk balloon animal. That's the Genie Jafar experience. This guy's propped up the whole first act of the game. He's Maleficent's lieutenant, the second in command. Maybe they're kissing. I'm not going to say. Who knows? And that's how he goes out. It's like a glorified minigame. It's like Monkey in the middle with Iago and the lamp. He turns into a cobra in the movie. And where do we get that replicated in the Kingdom Hearts franchise? Union Cross. The game where it doesn't really matter what anything is because you're just flinging PNGs at GIFs. So the Genie Jafar fight is like the excitement of waiting in the dentist office, except at least in the dentist office, you might have some Storage War thing to watch on TV, or one of those wooden bead things on the tubes that you can nudge around. But no such luck You're stuck in the Cave of Wonders rectal cavity, waiting for the blocks to raise or lower so you can reach Iago and move on with your life. It's an anticlimax for what should have been a really powerful moment and fight at that point of the game. And that's all I had anyway, so.
Incredible. Thank you.
I'll be here all week.
Thank you for your bravery.
Yeah.
Thank you for all of that.
I mean, I've already decried this boss fight and just how they handle Jafar in the game, across my channel, but
I think that every time Genie Jafar appears in the series,
it's bad.
It's bad.
It's bad in 2.
Yeah.
It's in, I don't know if he's a genie in Recoded. I don't remember. Again, I need 3 minutes on Recoded, not 10. But whatever form you fight Jafar in Recoded is also not good. And in Chain of Memories, it's bad as well. So shit. Goddamn.
I think it was okay in Key, if I recall correctly.
Well, it's okay in Key in the way that everything is okay in Key. And that it's just, here we are, I guess. This is, again, this PNG and fighting this GIF.
All right, well, I guess it's my turn to complain. So the cool thing about Kingdom Hearts, one of my favorite things about the first game, is that it has incredible voice acting, especially for the era. Like, for the first game, in a time when video games were just starting to become voice acting events, it did a really great job of having a cast of original characters that were all A-list, A+, incredible. And they also went out of their way to make sure that the Disney cast was incredible. Most of the original actors came back if they were still alive. So why the fuck is Sean Astin Hercules in Kingdom Hearts 1? Was Tate Donovan busy? In 2001, what did he have going on? Oh, an uncredited role in the movie. He was on Legend of Tarzan for 1 episode. And oh, look, he appeared in House of Mouse as Hercules. How the did Sean Astin... who was watching The Goonies? I'm going to keep going. Yeah. Lord of the Rings. I mean...
I was going to say.
Lord of the Rings was being filmed. He wasn't even known for that yet.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. And Tate Donovan played Hercules in every appearance after. Yeah. So what happened that Sean Astin was Hercules in the first game?
Okay. I never had that much of an issue with it, but it is weird. Now that you're, laying this all out for me, why? Was he sick? Maybe he just, maybe they didn't give him a good deal? I don't know.
I don't know.
That is crazy, though.
I don't know. If he could do 1 episode of Legend of Tarzan, he could do Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, you would think
If he could do 1 episode of House of Mouse, he could do Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that was about. And I don't think Sean Astin sounds like Tate Donovan.
No, he doesn't really. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a weird thing that never happened again.
Weird choice.
But I remember, and I'll never let it go.
So of all the KH1 voice actors that you take umbrage with, it's that one?
Yeah.
Really?
That's the only one.
Not Mandy Moore?
No, I like Mandy Moore.
But as Aerith in that game?
Yeah, I don't think that she had a lot of support.
Yeah.
But I think that when you compare her to literally everyone that came after her...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm Team Mandy. I'm Team Mandy all the way. If she had better voice direction and more context for what she was saying, I think it would have been fine.
Yeah. I mean, Aerith power rankings real quick. I think Menace Uvari at the bottom. And then, for me, it'd be Mandy Moore, then Andrea Bowen, and then, I'm KH Trash, so I don't remember the name of the actress who does her in the remake Rebirth saga.
Brianna White, I think is her name.
My favorite by far, but I think that's, the coldest
Oh,
take
for
in the
sure,
universe.
but that's different world.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Different world. But she's welcome. She's welcome to come to Kingdom Hearts if...
They're going to say she's welcome on the podcast.
Oh, that too.
That too.
I mean, she's a streamer.
Yeah,
that's
true. Yeah,
she wouldn't come on here. Why would she come here?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Although, you know what, I do think that we could have one-off episodes where we talk. I mean, I know people who have worked on the games.
Yeah,
if it's possible, I don't see why we couldn't have people on to talk without the format of the show.
Right. Yeah.
Just warning everyone in case that happens, I guess.
Yeah. Or it would be funny to ask Brianna White to give us 10 minutes on why she really loves Days.
And also, no reason. Could you just say what your interpretation of the lines would be from Kingdom Hearts if you were just what you think? How do you think you would have done it?
Too many worlds? Too many worlds? Too many worlds?
This is great.
This is great.
Everyone's together again.
Can you say that and sound like you don't hate everybody who's in the room?
Feels like a pretty good place to end.
Yeah.
Pat, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, RegularPat. I'm on Twitch, RegularPat YT. The YT standing for YouTube, let me say. I'm also on Twitter, but Blue Sky mostly now. Patreon if you really like me. That's about it.
I am currently on Blue Sky and Tumblr. I don't know what the future will hold. We're recording this episode at the end of January, hoping to get it out for March Caprice. So if we are posting during March Caprice, please check that out as well. I have done the branding for March Caprice for the past 4 years. The team works very hard. I don't know if we're going to actually be in on the programming or not, but if we are, please go watch the other videos, go watch the other streams, go participate in the events. March Caprice is a fan convention that happens every year for the anniversary of Kingdom Hearts in March. It's all virtual. You can participate. There's lots of fun things to do. Signups, of course, are closed because the event is happening in a couple of months, but if there's another one next year, there will be more signups. There will be more things that you can contribute as an artist. If you're not video inclined, if you're into merch, if you're a cosplayer, if you're an author, there are all sorts of things that you can do to celebrate your love of Kingdom Hearts, including giving us a comment, leaving a review. I don't know where we're posting this yet because it's the first episode.
Yeah.
But if you like it, figure out a way to let us know.
Yeah. Please.
All right.
Please. Okay, guys, this is huge for us. We need this.
We don't have nearly enough validation anywhere.
I need more positive comments, please.
How about this? You can spend 10 minutes talking about the thing that you like about this podcast, and then you can spend 1 minute talking about something you hate, and then post it.
Pat says, while PJ's talking too much. That's going to be what they hate.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just did it subconsciously. Okay, go ahead.
Let's end it here. Let's go. We're done. Bye.
All right. Peace out.
Thank you for listening to another great episode of No Sad Face, or if this is your first episode, welcome. You can find out everything about this series at nosadface.com. It will have past episodes, it'll have different places to watch, it'll have my links, it'll have Pat's links, it'll have credits. Speaking of which, our music is done by the incredible David Russell from Project Astadi. Go and download his music. He is phenomenal. There will be links in nosadface.com. Art is done by the incredible Espurr Roba. Ingenious, again, links in the thing. All of the animation that we have for our videos, those are also done by David. Honestly, these people give us way more than we deserve, and we're very thankful. And if you want to listen to other episodes, they're all there. And if you want to find out when the next episode is, those dates will be listed on the website. And check it out. Follow us on social media.
Do it. That's my input.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.